Gaming in BS, episode 224, Monday, January 4th. Happy New Year 2021. Welcome to Gaming in BS, a tabletop RPG podcast. I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Welcome to the show, folks. Welcome back. Glad you're all here. So, Sean, you started off saying this was episode 324. My recollection was the last one we did was 322. Were you cheating on me last week?
No, I was not.
You were not.
I went solo.
Oh.
I
So we should...
I recorded myself.
You recorded yourself.
I did.
And you consider that an actual show. All right. I'll let it slide. I'm just giving you shit, dude. I heard about it. I heard it was pretty good. I should actually download it. It'd probably sound better than I do. Anyway, so how the hell are you, man? It's been like 2 weeks since I talked to you.
I am okay. I'm not good with going back to work this Sunday,
that was
at all.
That was no good.
No.
What was really nice though was I had like a slew of meetings this morning. Went cancel, move, cancel, move. I'm like, oh, nobody else wants work today either. This is nice. Had a bunch of SOX audit crap to get through, so I did that instead, which was not that a good way to start the new year at work, but hey, get it done. Did you get any gaming in while we were out while I was not on the show, while you were here starring by yourself, building your own brand without me?
I think I ran Wednesday.
What'd you run?
Age of Rebellion.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I played Saturday in Hobbs' Low Fantasy Gaming.
Did you die?
I did not die. We had a pretty good session, actually. We didn't, went out and kicked some thorn creature treants asses.
So Hobbs is getting soft.
Well, we've kind of regrouped. Hey,
all right.
we could do things differently and might be more successful if we do. And so we have, and we are. So there you go.
All right, you're playing better. All right.
Yeah.
Play smarter,
have you
not
played
harder.
anything since the move?
Yes, I did actually. Alpha ran a while ago. Alpha ran his Descent into Undermountain. God, that's old. That's an old video game reference. The Dungeon of the Mad Beast, the Undermountain game. That went pretty well. We're in kind of a real slow grind spot on that one. Alpha and I were talking about, I was over at his new house, shooting pool and drinking, which is a thing you do at Alpha's house, and spinning records. Anyway, so we're doing that. We're talking about gaming, which is what we want to do. And he said, what do you think? I said, man, we're in a grind. I said, it's really, the dungeon crawling part is fun, but we're having a hard time. And by that, I mean, none of us have any reason to be there anymore. We've accomplished like all the goals, and we're like, oh, we should do this and this. Check it off. Why the fuck are we here again? So that's starting to come up. And I feel bad for Alpha because he did a lot of prep work. It's a good adventure. We're having fun with it in a way. But we have to suspend almost anything other than I'm here to go through the dungeon. That is my goal. We have to, any other goal, suspend that goal. That's kind of, and this is not a knock on the adventure. I have not read it. It's not a knock on Alpha's gaming style. It's just the way it's rolling out across the players. The other thing I did this last week was my week to run, and I ran my Greyhawk first edition game.
Mm.
It was really cool. It was, we got back on the horse. I'd taken a week off from the move. But anyway, so first edition game, they're still in Oitmeat in the Grand Duchy of Jeff. And they had just uncovered this weird cult thing, and everything kind of disappeared. All the cultists kind of disappeared over here, some ghouls, and trying to figure out what the fuck happened. And when it left, half the party was, or I should say 2/3 of the party was like, we're leaving town. They all went to Gorna. We've got to leave, which is the capital of Jeff. We've got to go there. Or to Leah. We got to get out of town. They all left. And Lenny is like, no, man. The evil is still here. The evil's still here. So he convinces the party at the start of the session to stick it out. And they stick it out, and things got really fucking interesting. They met what they think might be a pure-blood Suluise princess. They're not quite sure what's going on with that. which might be why anybody who knows Greyhawk understands this. So, see, look it up, people. A Sului's princess, and then there's like the Scarlet Brotherhood, which are like these kind of evilish monks involved, also connected to Sul, and they're still trying to figure out what's going on with Vecna and his weird cult. So it's good. They're in deep. They finally delved into the caverns underneath this section of the city, and due to some really good, like, well-timed role-playing. An invisible monk jumped them, started wailing the crap out of the cleric because he's like, this is, if I can take the cleric out, I can take out the rest of the party. Lenny's fighter, the half-elf, comes in there and swings and misses, but in the process, he's like, stop. We don't want to fight. We need to talk. Make a little check. The monk is like, okay, let's talk. Everybody backs down, go to their respective corners. It was good. There was some really, just all in all, really well-timed role-playing. They were able to take out 3 ghouls, which proved to be, even for 4 characters of, what I think, 2nd, 3rd level, it was tough. 3 ghouls was really tough for them. Their dice were cold and they're paralyzed. And a fun fact, I reread the first edition ghoul paralyzing. How long does paralyzing last in first edition ghoul? Do you happen to remember?
Probably forever. I don't remember.
Yes. Oh, you're dead right. There is no it says you are paralyzed. It does not give a duration. You're just fucking paralyzed. What? You have to find a way to cure that.
Yeah, I think you have to get removed paralyzation.
Yes.
Shit, man.
In my benevolence, I had stated initially that if you had a condition given to you, oftentimes a healing spell could remove certain conditions. So they blew through like a cure spell and like 2 healing potions. Like, this ought to work. Splash, 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 splash. Cure. And yes, I allowed the paralyzation to be removed. But they're like, holy crap, how long does that last? Said it never goes away. Fucking what? They were shocked and dismayed. I thought it was rather comical, but I was also on the side of the screen. But
somebody asked if you were running it after Giant Invasion or a pre-Giant Invasion.
Pre-Giant Invasion. Pre. Shh, don't tell my players that.
Don't tell them. Shh, don't tell them
that.
Nick, don't listen to this.
Yes, because the Giants are coming.
They're coming.
I've given them information that the Giants are coming. They just haven't pieced it all together yet. Yeah.
The Giants are coming.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna get messy. Much splattering will be occurring.
Nice.
It's coming. Oh, speaking of just cool shit, I have been looking at, Sean, you picked up what's that again? Free League. You picked up Alien. What was the other one?
Forbidden Lands.
I've been eyeballing Symbarium and Vaesen for a while. And I decided to go all in on Symbarium. The reason I did was because I
think you brought this up when last time you were on.
I may have, but I got my PDFs, and I'll tell you what, you had we were both talking about, man, some of the shipping seemed to be a little late, and I got a hold of the folks at Free League. I'm like, oh crap, it's over the holiday. How quick are they going to respond? And the nice lady responded to me. I was like, oh, we're really sorry, but the holidays just slowed us down. Super great response. I'm like, I didn't get my PDFs right away. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Here you go again to drive through, pull them all down. It was really cool. So I'm very pleased with the customer service end of it. So that was really nice.
Nice.
I think that's about it for me, man. Anything else from you on that?
No.
Oh, I should say EverCon is coming up, if not already. Shit, dude, that's happening like real quick. So it's a virtual con this year. And as I've said here, I'm not involved in owning, managing, directing EverCon anymore. I talked to the people who are, and I apologized up and down. I said, Alpha and I can't really do much at all this year. Like, oh, really? Just because it's virtual? I said, granted, I'm not big on virtual cons. However, I'm moving twice. And Alpha just moved. We had a lot of house shit going on. I really don't have any time to be prepared. I'm so behind. So hopefully things will go fine. And next year, EverCon will be live and in person again. And then I'll be there in force with my buddies. So anyway, evercon.org. Check that out if you're interested in an online con.
Not to backtrack, but have you read the rules of Symbarium yet?
The rules?
Yeah. Have you looked over the mechanics?
I went through the quick start. I got the quick start for free and checked through that and went, this isn't bad. This looks pretty damn simple. It's got enough crunch somebody, I think it is in the forums or maybe it was in Discord, talked about crunch for the players, not for me so much. The dice are player facing, man. This is really sexy. I like this. We've talked about this in the show before, but having it built into the mechanic where it's not like me trying to foist a thing upon them. It's all die rolls for them. They like doing the number crunch, and it's not that hard. I said, "Where are you at?" "Well, I'm at a 14. Well, take a 2, a 3, a 4 penalty. What's that equal? Oh, 10. There you go. Make your roll. So the crunch of it, I think, like any new system, right? When I get it at the table, it'll take some working through. But I think as I was talking to Harrigan about it in Discord and such, I think the feeling, the atmosphere, the art, the setting is going to draw them in enough that they're really going to groove on it.
So you just got that one. You didn't get Vaesen, correct?
I did not get Vaesen or Vaesen. I have not done that one yet. That's next, but I've got time. So,
yeah, that's kind of on my radar, but I need another game like a freaking hole in the head.
I am trying this year. Last year was actually pretty selective, and I'm really watching myself this year. I'm like, okay, I offloaded a ton of shit when I moved. Do I really need this thing? Yes or no? And if nothing else, the Symbaroum setting and the way it works and everything else, there's enough in there that I can beg, borrow, and steal concepts and ideas from my Avalon stuff. I'm like, oh, this is right up my alley. Dark Nasty stuff. And I also started doing more PIP system reading and thinking about how to get that Avalonized, because that's what I need to get done there. So, did I mention my buddy Lenny, his son? He said, "Hey, Brett, do you think after you get settled in, you'd like to run a D&D game for my son and I?" I'm like, "I think I would."
Oh. And
Lenny has a shit ton of miniatures. And I'm like, AJ likes minis. He likes Theater of Mind too, but I know his son, Aiden, likes minis. And I said, you know what I ought to do? I ought to pull out Rime of the Frost Maiden. I said, I'm thinking I'm going to run that one a couple times. I think that would be fun to run in person with your son and my boy. I think that could be a blast. So I'll probably do that. So that'll be cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah, good times, man.
Man, other than that, I think got nothing else. Nothing from you?
No, I'm good, man. Let's get in a random encounter.
Cool.
Random encounter, segment of the show where you field emails, voicemails, comments from social media. I've got a voicemail from the DM, Kojo. If I can find it right here. All right, let's go, Kojo.
Hey guys, it's Kojo with one follow-up on my ideas about team in D&D from my previous voicemail. One analogy that kept coming to me, and I forgot to mention before, there was a lot of talk about do the mechanics of the game, the rules of the game, support team play and promote team play. And grant you, I don't know that very many forms of D&D that I'm familiar with actually have mechanics that do that. Again, I think the ability to achieve the goal as a whole as a team is easier, and that's what promotes team play as opposed to the mechanics of the game. But I don't think that that's really how you define team play in a game anyways, the mechanics and the rules. For example, if you look at basketball, there's no rules that give you advantages, for team play. You don't get extra points if your basket comes after passing it around 5 times and somebody gets an assist. Assists don't change the score. Yes, assists can help you win the game and do better overall, but, so there's no rule that says in basketball that if you double team a player on defense and steal the ball, that's worth some extra advantage. So I don't think game mechanics and rules define whether or not it's a team game. I really believe it's whether or not the ultimate goal can be best achieved by working together as opposed to working as individuals. That's how I define it. But I understand there's different interpretations of that. But just wanted to give that analogy because that kept kind of coming to me. Thanks, guys. Great topic, as always. We'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Well,
I'll tell you what. Let's just say, I want to say this right up front. One of the things that Kojo does well, which quite frankly, every listener we've ever had that writes into us or calls into us says, this is what I see or what I think. I understand there's other perspectives. And I keep calling it out as like an awesome thing, and I'm going to continue to do it, folks, because there are so many people out there in the gaming world that will tell you you're doing bad, wrong, fun, you're fucking wrong, you're stupid, whatever the case is. So fuck all that shit. Sean does that to me. I hate it. Which is only fair because I do it back to him. But jokes aside, I mean, honestly, that type of mentality, we need a lot of that. We need that to be a pervasive mentality through our hobby. But anyway, Sean, you were saying you disagree a little bit?
Well, I mean, so, okay. I think that's the whole debate. I mean, we still have people commenting on that thread on our forums. I think it's like
it's a cool
deep.
idea. Yeah, it's deep. It's deep. And the thing is, like I said last time when we actually covered it on the show, it's a good, thoughtful thread, man. A lot of good stuff in there. The warden came in not too long ago and said, after he listened to our show, went through and said, kind of busted out some of his stuff too. He's the son of a bitch who started the whole thing.
He started it. Blame him. Damn it. No, I mean, we could debate this for a while and say, basketball, an assist, you don't get any points. But if it's an assist, if the other person gets some points and all this other stuff, and, a rebound is good for your team because it gets to go the other way. But you know what? We're going to have that influx of people that go one way or the other. That's okay. It's okay.
No.
And it's okay.
Good. And I like the fact, honestly, I love the fact that our listeners are confident enough that this environment, our community, is one that they can say, I think this. And no one else comes out and says, you're bad, wrong, fun. You're fucking stupid, blah, blah, blah. We don't do that to each other.
And if you do it at your house. Like, get really, really pissed off, start throwing furniture around and all that
because we don't
crap.
want to have to drop a band hammer on you. That's just, we don't want to have to do that crap. Anyway, Kojo, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks, Kojo. He also wrote us, I think, a private message that said, hey, I heard, because on the last episode, Brett wasn't here. I said, we're thinking about what do we do with the community? Do we
run
try
some games?
Yeah, play some games. I know people are like, I hear this Kojo guy. It'd be cool to like actually meet him or play with him. And so he heard that episode and he's like, yeah, I'll run a DCC game for BSers. Just let me know. And so we might be able to facilitate some of that stuff down the road. We'll see. But let's get into the next one, which is...
Yeah, who's next?
It's a two-parter. Chris Schorb. It's not...
Oh.
Yeah. So he called in, recorded one, called back in 10 minutes later, probably because he's like listening to the show and went, stops, calls, gets back onto the show. Oops, calls back in.
Or he's just so angry he had to take a breather in between it. All right.
At least to make sure I get this played in the right order.
All right, let me buckle up here.
Hey, Sean, Chris Schorb, calling about your most recent episode about spot checks, notice checks, perception checks. I had 2 points, one of which was triggered immediately by one of the things you said about why you were talking about Star Wars and how they don't have checks, like they don't have notice checks all the time. And that's absolutely true. It's like, so what I was thinking is Stars Without Number, the Stars Without Number game. It explicitly says in the rules, don't call for a skill check if there's not a need for it. Only if there's some complication and if dramatically it's interesting do you call for a check. So that's point one, and I'm totally on board with that because what I've noticed in D&D is everybody pumps their wisdom because perception and noticing stuff is such an important part of the game. And who knew that a game about people, going adventure fiction, it was all about noticing things. Come on, just give them what's interesting in the room and then let them figure out what they want to do with it. I don't know. Maybe I'm leaning more towards the old school way where the players have to say, this is what I'm doing, and then I'll just give it to you if you describe it reasonably. But, yeah, there's something about just everybody's got to have pumped up wisdom just so they can get good notice checks that's starting to really bug the crap out of me about 5e. Anyways, that's all I got today. Take care. Bye.
He lies. It wasn't the only thing he had today.
He's got more.
He continues.
Hey, Sean and Brett. I thought I wasn't going to say anything else, but I'm calling again. You guys may have already, Sean, you might have covered this again, but I just wanted to say that the one point you made about kind of if there's drama, which I also just called in a few minutes ago, the other thing that I like to give to my players is they get 3 options on a lot of the skill checks, like picking a lock is, do you want to be noticed? Do you want to avoid notice? do you want to be able to use that lock again? And do you want to do it quickly? So those are kind of the three dimensions of success. And if they roll really well, they get them all. They do it fast, they don't break the lock, and they don't get noticed while they're doing it. But if they just barely squeak by, then yeah, they get to pick one of those that happens. They can do it fast, but the other two happen, if that makes sense. The other two are negative in their way. Oh, you got noticed and you broke the lock, but you did it fast, right? So that's one approach that I've been using.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I threw this out in the Discord, Sean, and this kind of reminds me of it. I've had this idea in my head for D&D, and it's not just 5e. Pathfinder had this, and 3.0 had this, where everyone went, "Oh, there is a desire not to be left out." If you ask for hey, everyone make perception checks, and you're the only poor SOB that can't make a perception check, you missed out. Nobody likes to miss out, so you jack that up because I don't want to be out. I don't want to miss it out, right? You want to see the stuff that everybody else sees, the cool shit, hidden stuff, finding things. You want to have it. I've been thinking about it might slow the game in a way, but asking them, describe what it is you're doing, and say, okay, make a perception check with your intelligence. Why would I do that? Because the way you just described that you're doing perception. You're picking the lock. I just want to muscle through this. Strength check. Oh, I want to do it this way. Oh, I want to be a warrior, but I want to be like the student fighter. I have studied. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest, but I'm the consummate student. You add intelligence on your combat. I'm a cunning street fighter.
That
Craziness.
is too crazy, Brett.
But it's a way. Whoa. I know. But it's a way, a theory. Again, I've not play tested this. It was just an idea I've had. I think I'm going to pull it out as I work through with my own homebrew version of D&D type of thing. It's a way to tweak a character in the way that they do stuff potentially based on what they're good at, right? And I could then, as a game master, say, look, the only way you can bypass X is with a strength check. Oh, I suck at that. Yes. But in many other cases, other options can and should apply potentially, which then stops people from dumping everything into wisdom to make sure that this one skill is super high. You're like, well, it depends, to quote a Sean Kelly I know, because how I'm doing it, like tracking. I think this is what started it. Somebody in the Discord had mentioned this. And I had said, with tracking, he's like, how are you tracking? I have done tracking in the woods as a hunter. And I've gone through. Sometimes I want to go as fast as I can because I want to catch up quickly. So that's it's damn near Dex or Con almost. And sometimes it's just intelligence. You're stopping and you're breaking it down. And there are books written on tracking. They're very intelligent. Like you break this down. If the soil has been raining this much and it's the crazy levels of intelligence. That's intelligence. There are other people who like to track by their gut. And I've been there too, where I get lost. And I'm like, okay, where the fuck did this deer go? I'll bet you it dove underneath this overhang. Duck down the snow. There it is. That was all just pure intuition, gut, instinct, boom, wisdom on that tracking check. And in that case, you could say, look, you could track with any one of these 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, skills. You could use, even if in a city scenario, you're trying to track through and you're using your charisma because you're trying to see who's reacting appropriately, right? How are people move when someone's cutting through a crowd? Roughly moving weird or whatever it is, they draw attention to themselves in small, minute ways. So anyway, instead of removing the skill, Sean, potential is tweak the stat that bumps the skill. Just an idea. I've never play tested this. I don't know what it would do for speed, slowing, so on and so forth, but I bet you if you got in a groove, it would roll pretty quick. Just an idea. You look at me like I have 3 heads. Or you're mocking me.
I'm gonna run you out of gaming town.
Gaming place
crazy radicalism.
Anyway, thank you, Chris. That was good stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
You got anything to say on that, Sean? I don't want to.
Yeah, it's good.
You good?
Yeah.
All right. You can read the next one.
Oh, man.
I talk too much. I'll shut up. Let you read.
Email from James Carruthers. He writes, "Hi, Brett and Sean. Thanks for the holiday good wishes. Same to you and all the best to you, your families, and your game groups for 2021. Thanks, James. It's been quite some time since I last wrote in, although life's been busy. I want you to know I never miss an episode of your BS. Your heart and hard work shine through every week. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's very cool,
Yes,
James.
Thanks,
Thank you, man.
James. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now on the meat of the matter. I'm calling BS in a matter of speaking.
So he buttered us up with a bunch of comments just to knock us down, Sean. James, I love you. This is how I like that.
Brett
That's
hasn't
good.
even
Yeah,
read
you-
it yet. He just
I
wants
haven't even read it. You got me up and it crushed my spirits. That's Game Master Gold right there.
That's
I
right.
love everything about it. Keep going, Sean. This is
Well,
good.
actually,
it.
I'm offering more of a challenge and real-world experiment.
Ooh, a challenge.
Yeah, I don't know if Brett takes well to challenges.
Yes. Don't tell me what to do. Carry on.
Don't tell me. Brett said, "Don't tell me what to do, guy." All right. In several past episodes, including a few recent ones, the pouting and pontification about the shortcomings of hit points as an abstraction, the whining and wondering about the speed and ease of healing, and the fretting and philosophizing on the absence of lasting wounds and scars arises for rehashing time and again, specifically pertaining to D&D 5e.
Okay.
So,
Fair.
why not take what 5e actually has to offer and test it? Rather than scream this at my podcast player yet again,
I love it.
I finally found time to sit down and write you about it. Recently, you floated the idea that you would each concurrently run for Rime of the Frostmaiden and compare notes. I love this idea. I really hope you do it because I also plan to run that module. Yes, still, I call them modules. And I hope to benefit from your findings and musings. For those of you in the know, Stefan Dragonspawns actually started running Rime of the Frostmaiden, and he started posting in our forums how it's been going for him. So he's kind of like ahead of us and taking us up.
He hit me up on that on Twitter, Stefan did, and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing it. What do you think?" I'm like, "Dude, start a thing. Start a thing in the forums." And Stefan's an awesome gamer, and he knows what he's doing. So I thought, yeah, throw that out there, man. Good stuff.
And he thinks we're sexy. At least Brett, anyway.
He's blind. Carry on.
All right. Let's see. So here's the challenge. Take all the 5e rules for gritty wounds and slow healing and tell your game group that these rules will apply raw. Yes, raw. Rules as written. Even you, Brett. Let's be scientific about this. For the first 3 levels of Rime of the Frostmaiden, when the PCs reach 4th level, have a look back and see how it went. Was it more fun? What worked and what didn't, and why? Ooh.
That's a good. No, I like this. This is smart. I like it.
Many episodes ago, you both publicly committed to reading the rule books. However, since I'm still not sure if you guys have read the DMG 5e rules for this stuff, I'll itemize them here. And he mentions healer's kit.
I have. Since we talked about this, the healer's kit dependency, the slow natural healing, this stuff out there, this is the stuff I was looking at when Sean was talking about this for Ravenloft. I was rereading and boning up on this. So good stuff, James. Keep going, Sean. Sorry.
So
I interrupted you.
he lays out, and Brett hints to it, healer's kit dependency, page 266, slow natural healing, 267, gritty realism, 267, hitting cover, friendly fire, 272, massive damage, system shock, 273. And he continues, at 4th level in Rime of the Frostmaiden, feel free to tweak and tune to suit your tastes and needs after having given the actual rules of the game a fair shake. I hope you take up the challenge. I plan on doing this too, and I look forward to comparing notes. In considering this topic, I began to wonder why. Why do we want to do this? I'm pretty sure that the idea to add these rules into our games originates solely from the DM 99% of the time. Our players certainly don't come up with this, nor do they ask for it. Is it more fun for the DM at the expense of the players' fun? Or is it truly more fun for everyone? Or not? I'm curious to see what else comes up during the course of the experiment, but this question will be top of mind for me.
So he goes on, he's got a couple spinoffs here. I want to throw a thought here real quick, James, and I think this is gold. And by that, Sean, when he said that, these ideas originate from the DM Are they fun for us or fun for the players? Or both, right? I think that's worth thinking about. I know.
I'm so done considering players' feelings.
Or people in general. I don't like people.
I don't like people.
I don't like people. This is the worst social game ever. Just do what I fucking tell you. I like the question. I've not thought of it with these words exactly. So that got my gears turning. So keep going. Sean, we got some tangents to go through.
Wow, apparently.
All told, damn good challenge. And I think it's definitely worth doing. I do it with damn near every other game I buy, a new game system. I run it as written as much as I can to really find out what works and what doesn't. But for some reason, I think, Sean, you and I have hinted at this. We played D&D for so goddamn many years. Like, I know how to run this game. You damn kids in your newfangled low-high thingies. I do this myself. Yeah. Anyway, carry on, sir.
James. And now for a few spin-off tangents. That question led me to wondering, do I feel that my players too often overpower the challenges I give them? For me, actually, no. But I hear about other DMs who do worry about this. Sean, is this you maybe? In podcasts where Mike Shea appears, for example, I hear him talk about how his players routinely curb stomp encounters that are of a CR far, far higher than should be possible. Conversely, I hear that Jeremy Crawford scoffs at the idea that monsters are too easily overcome by players, and his case in point is that in all the games he has ever run in 5e, none of his groups have ever killed a vampire, no matter how high level and powerful they were. Vampires are just too cunning and too powerful. They always escape. Mike, on the other hand, wrote and published a booklet of 7 new vampires just to make them stronger. Personally, I think I'm somewhere between the two in my DM style. For example, I find it hard to imagine a vampire that doesn't kill everyone and or escape to fight another day, but not impossible. However, I would pit a Sphinx against anyone, anytime, any level, and I'm sure it would never, ever lose. Conversely, I'm a notoriously poor tactician when it comes to running dragons, but I don't care. There's always some other terrifying creature around the next corner or ready to plane shift in from hell to make the players crap their pants. Hey, yeah, man.
I like
it. All right.
If I didn't love him before, I do now.
I think some DM's fear of players overpowering their encounters might be one reason for the scarcity of magic items in 5e, especially weapons. That and the fact that character classes progressively add so many cool bells and whistles already. But I say, fear not. I give awesome magic items as treasure. I grew up with AD&D and learned to love magic items at an early age. For example, I thought the rogue find a short sword of sharpness in our Princes of the Apocalypse game. I was afraid to let him have it. Sure. Unafraid to let him have it. Sure, he made mincemeat out of a few monsters, but I'm the DM. There's always another bigger monster around the next corner. His sword came with a nasty backstory too, of course. It had been hidden away for gods know how long in an Illithid temple because it was the little sister silver sword companion to a Githyanki captain's larger main two-handed silver sword.
Eesh.
Once the rogue removed it from its hidden location, it triggered the hunt from the Githyanki. The party was plagued by Githyanki hunting parties at the most inopportune times for the rest of the campaign. The whole party had awesome stuff like that. Fun for them and fun for me, too. A caveat. I do find that the plus X of magic weapons in 5e can steal some fun due to the cleverly designed, bounded accuracy of the game. If a PC hits 90% of the time, then I believe it does actually lessen the fun for everyone, including the ever-hitting PC. Solution? The plus X only works for 1 minute per day when activated on a bonus action. Of course, the weapon is always magical regardless of whether or not the plus X is on, which is important for overcoming monster resistances at higher levels of play. Plus, I usually embellish its other powers if it has any, and it always does. There's no such thing as vanilla +1 or +2 weapon in my games. All the best for a better 2021. James Carruthers, Sunshine Coast, British Columbia. P.S. Forgive my flippant, irreverent, snarky tone. It's tongue-in-cheek and all in good fun. You guys are awesome. P.P.S. Brett, don't stop telling us stories from your AD&D game. More. I absolutely love hearing about it.
Well, you got some at the beginning. I think when I heard the last piece here, James, when Jeremy Crawford says, "Hey, no one's ever killed a vampire," I think it comes down to how he's playing them. Much like how you say there's never a boring +1/+2 sword in your game, and you talk about how, hey, I'm really bad at running dragons, but you sound like you kick ass at sphinxes. I've always said, quite frankly, how the hell do you ever beat a lich? If I have a lich who's the obligatory thousands of years old, how the fuck did you beat that thing? It's developed how many custom spells? It's immune to how many different things? How many hundreds of clones does it have, or whatever? Excuse me. It's crazy difficult, and I think Mike, coming up with 7 new vampires and so forth. I think sometimes it comes down to options like that, different ideas of the vampire. 6 years of Brett and Sean babbling about different ways to do different things. The best thing that happens is when Mike Shea writes that stuff, it's like, hey, here's a different way to run a vampire. And sometimes that goes click in the game master's head and goes, oh, fuck yeah. Now I can finally make my vampires tough. I never thought of running them that way before. Right? I think there's some real power in that. And like you talk about sphinxes, I don't remember the last time I ran a sphinx other than a big bucket of hit points. Right? Totally probably a bad way to run a sphinx. You, on the other hand, James, have done it to much greater effect. Therefore, you're running them, dare I say, better than Brett is, which is absolutely cool. And how the hell are you doing it? And those are the type of things that I miss about the in-person con. Sitting at GaryCon, swapping stories with Sean and everybody else who comes up. Forrest Gary sitting there saying, oh my God, I had this happen. Hey, how do you run your name it here monster? I do this. Oh, that's a cool idea. I'm doing that next time. That's the shit I love. And that's essentially 6 years of this podcast, but good thoughts. I like this stuff, man. And that, honestly, Sean, what do you think about his challenge up top, though? Run it as is?
Yeah, I suppose. God, I'm such a terrible rules guy sometimes, though, but all right, whatever.
I would wager to say that you have played it as is more than I have because you played with Doc.
Maybe.
I think Doc is probably the consummate 5e rules guy that I personally know.
He's good.
He's really good. And I think because you played with him as game master, you have an edge on me there.
Maybe. I usually forget him, so Doc just reminds me at the table.
Yeah, so he's better than both you and I.
Totally. No question.
But no, when I plan to run Rhyme of the Frost Maiden for AJ, my buddy Lenny, and his son Aiden, which would be funny because Lenny's real name is Aaron, so it's Aaron, and Aiden. I'll have 3 A's at the table. But anyhow, the point is I want to run that close to as it's written because then there's less ambiguity and less what do you mean type of thing. Just kind of keep things clean. So it's a damn good challenge. And as I said, for whatever reason, D&D doesn't get that out of me. I think it's just my history with that game, man, honestly. Any other game, like, Symbaroum, I plan to run it as written because I want to take it for a drive, see how it works,
Yeah, it's new. It's the new car, man.
It's new.
Got
It's
some
new and different, yeah.
New knobs and flips and
new, yeah. I want to see how this all goes.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff, though. Thank you. All right. So let's see. Last one here. Craig from the third floor. Third Floor Wars emails us. If you want to trip through the time machine or open up a time capsule, go re-listen to your episode 285, Ideal Game Group. The first 20 minutes is where Sean and Brett start to realize that COVID is a thing and will impact their hobby. I listened today, and it was interesting to hear the initial reactions to the lockdowns. I love an episode where you two talk about lasting impact. Will there be a lockdown hangover in the RPG industry? Will post-lockdown RPG world look like pre-lockdown RPG world? The entire episode is worth a second listen, but I think the opening discussion that took me back in time. Craig from Third Floor Wars. Damn, dude, I had forgotten about that. You're right. It's different. I think that one, Sean, I'm going to throw that one in the hopper. I think there's potential that from our hobby stance, bold statement here, but did it change the way people game? permanently in some cases.
I think more than others. I know some guys that are big online gamers and they've played like that for, the last few years where virtual tabletops and video conferencing software has come, exponentially better.
Because I can tell you my home group, when I moved up here to Wausau, and now everybody's within 15 minutes of me.
Right.
And we talked. We said, do we keep gaming online? Everyone went, yeah. I asked the question thinking all these old grognards at gamers were like, oh, fuck no, back to person. I heard them for them. No. I want an online Tuesday game. Lenny and I talked about it. He said, man, everything moves. I said, dude, you get more done in a 3-hour online session than you do in an 8-hour in person. He goes, yeah, you're right. We really move.
Well, there's
We're
a
really
lot of,
hyper-focused.
there can be a lot of dinking around when you're at a table.
Oh, can be? Yeah, there's a lot of dinking around in person, which is fun and all. But anyway, no, I think that's interesting, Craig. That's All right, I'll add that one to the hopper. That's going in.
All right.
You ready,
Yeah,
Sean?
no, thanks, Craig. Let's get into the main topic.
So, Sean, this is yours. You came up to me or today I said, so here's how this happened, folks. I said, Sean, over text, hey, man, how you doing? Good, Brett, what's up? What the hell are we talking about today? I can't fucking remember. Well, it's been like a week and a half. What am I doing? How many boxes do I have behind me? What's going on? So one of the things that Sean threw at me in a plethora of ideas that he expounded on the most was, how do we play pretend? Right. So I think, Sean, let me see if I can capture the idea that you threw at me here. And you basically was like, we did this as kids and it was super easy. We'd pretend to be all sorts of stuff. Cops, robbers, soldiers, teachers, moms, dads, play house, do whatever it is you did. And we just dove in and freaking did it. Right. And when we were kids playing pretend and doing that type of thing, we didn't have total mastery of it. If we played cops and robbers, no kid had a full comprehension of what the speeding laws were. No kid fully understood, what breaking and entering, all the rules and regulations of whatever it was were, right? We didn't have all
It was
that.
amazing at how much we did have, though.
Oh, it was, yeah, depending on how you grew up. But anyway, yeah, we had a lot of knowledge, but and you had posed the idea kind of as a question for the topic here is like, is there something we lost between there and growing up and becoming jaded pack of jerks that we are? Or is it, and if we were to look back at that time, is there something we could grab onto that could help us out in our game? Is that kind of where you're going, Sean?
It does. You
you're
summed
nodding,
it up
so, okay.
fairly nicely, Brett. That was Jeff. That's Brett's interpretation of what I was looking for when I brought up playing pretend, and it came to me because we get older, and playing pretend. I guess the point was that we didn't know anything. Like if we were 6 years old playing cops and robbers, as a 6-year-old, I was never a cop. That's what Brett had mentioned. But we still played cops and robbers. I took you, you broke the law, I arrested you, and I put you in jail.
Yeah.
If we got older, say we got to 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, then we maybe had a better concept of what that involved. Like Jeff had the cop club. Like it was called the cop club. We recruited members to the cop club. We made ID badges.
Oh, cute.
Yep, ID badges.
Oh.
We went around and arrested kids on their bikes for speeding through town. And if they didn't come with us, we muscled them. We jacked them up and brought them back, and we put them on trial. I'm not
10-year-old
bullshitting.
police brutality. This is
I'm
awesome.
not bullshitting. And in so doing, like we'd have crabapple fights and stuff like that. Crabapple war. You're on that side. We're on this side. I mean, that's a little bit different than maybe a military-based thing. But the point of what I'm trying to get at and why I mentioned it to Brett was we get into role-playing games, and the one thing that kind of comes to mind is Star Trek, because Star Trek is a weird one because you watch the series and you try to play it in a role-playing game, and I've brought this up before where it's very hard as a player character to determine I'm not the science officer in the year 2400 or 2300 that comes up with these weird solutions and findings and analysis that comes up with how we can conquer what's got us the ship grabbed in space, or the creature that's taking over people, or whatever that is.
Yeah, you don't understand how the warp drive works because you're not Scotty. You don't get to say, well, I'm going to do a bypass through the Knibbler rods and defibrillators ought to kick in and, hopefully we slingshot our way out of here, Captain. You're like, what the fuck did he just say?
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Correct. But neither do the writers of some of those shows.
No, they're making this shit up.
They're making all that
They
shit up.
absolutely are.
And so what I'm thinking to myself is, kind of as a player, because like game masters, we can kind of come up with this. We make our notes, we read modules and adventures and all this stuff, and it's kind of sometimes it could be served up to us. But as player characters, we're confined. We feel sometimes confined to what a character sheet is, and sometimes I'm like, just pretend you are a helmsman. Pretend you are just go back to the days of naivete and pretend. Like you could come up in a game.
You don't need a 10-page backstory to tell you what your motivation is.
Right.
Just do it.
You could hey, you're the helmsman or you're the engineer on the starship. Come up with engineer talk. It doesn't even matter if it's accurate or normal. I cannot tell you. And if you're a game master that does this, you're doing it wrong. Okay, there, I said it. But if a player character came to the table and they're like, hey, the game master sends you a message and says, hey, there's something wrong with the engines. And you, as the player, took the lead on that and came back to the captain or the crew and said, hey, there's something wrong with the engines. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to troubleshoot the flux capacitor and the antimatter chamber. I'm not quite sure. I'm seeing some weird readings. If you said all of that and none of it made any sense, but it sounded really cool because you're the engineer, the game master is going to be like, yes.
That's awesome.
Great.
So why do you think that doesn't happen?
Because I think that we get older, we get jaded. And I say this because it just is kind of the nature of who we are. Brett games with his kids. When he plays with his kids, it's a different game. Even if he ran the same game for his kids that he did with Lenny and the guys.
Oh, it's a different
whole
game.
Different game. But why is it a different game? Kids have a sense of wonder and exploration, and they want to friend the dragon. They don't want to kill the dragon, right? There's just a different dynamic. They haven't been jaded.
No, my daughter would want to kill a dragon. AJ would
Fair.
talk to my daughter would kill a dragon, but that's just her.
But they
I
haven't
get you.
been
I get
jaded
you.
with paying taxes, buying houses, and moving.
And they also haven't been made fun of for saying something that sounds like gobbledygook.
True. Yes.
Because if you say, I'm trying to get the flux capacitor and the Knibbler rods just don't seem to work appropriately, and I'm thinking about, maybe I could take some of the life support and move it through the hydrogenator. It's a bunch of garbage words all mashed together, and somebody at your table may go, hydrogenator?
Right.
And look at you derisively and say, you clearly don't understand Star Trek. Even if that doesn't happen, that asshole ain't at your table, right? He or she, that jerko, isn't there. We as people, as grown-ups, even teenagers, adults in any way, shape, or form, don't want to be made fools of.
We've got this so hung up. I mean, we got beat up as
very much
kids
so.
and never want to be made fun of or look like a fool. We got this such a...
Being made fun of sucks, dude. If you ever a nerd in high school, hands up, it sucks, right? If you ever picked on incessantly, yeah. Come home crying from school, hands up, yeah, me too. It sucks. You don't want to be made a fool of. But the game table should be, there's nobody making fun of you. They're laughing with you. They're having fun with you. That environment, we should feel like we should be able to do it.
And I don't have a problem making fun of folks at the table. I think there is a...
There's a difference between, oh my God, that thing you said was funny. It's totally engineering talk, but wow, that was just hydrogenator. What the fuck's hydrogenator, Brett? I don't fucking know. I'm just trying to do some engineer talk, people. That's a fun back and forth, right? Not the, you, Brett, are stupid because you said hydrogenator. Now this is like whatever the fuck that is. But somebody's, calling you dumb or calling you out in that mean-spirited way, that's a problem.
I agree.
Right?
Sure.
So I can say personally, my buddy Lenny started a Call of Cthulhu game this last Friday. and we sat down the day before and made characters. Lenny couldn't make it, so we're at Alpha's place making characters, and everyone's making. My buddy Save makes a professional boxer, and somebody else makes a this, and somebody else makes an animal tamer. I'm like, I'm making an antiquarian. I'm making a solid British. We're in London. I'm a British antiquarian, so on and so forth. I have no idea how to play or how to actually 100% be a stodgy English gentleman who thinks that the world should be British and the rest of you are not well bred enough to understand.
Yeah, watch Crown, man.
So what I did was I tapped into everything I've ever read, thought, or seen that sounded fun like that. And every time somebody said something to me like, well, if I were born like you, I would totally think like that. However, thankfully, good breeding and all, I've been able to ascertain the true nature of this thing. And I was a complete jerk. And most sorts of players like, God, your character's a dick. Yes, he is. But he's also the only one who really understood things and so on. I said crap that was rude and obnoxious, but like kind of, sort of nicely spirited and so forth. I say crap that made no sense. I would throw in colloquialisms from the 20th century that I'd forgot. Like, crap, that's totally anachronistic, and forget I said it and just move on. We all had a good laugh at my expense many times. And we had fun picking on Zabe when he was a professional boxer who for some reason was talking to the professor as if they were equals. I'm like, you're a professional boxer. How can you ask this philosophical question of this man? You punch people for a living in the 1920s. Come on, dude. It was funny. But the other thing I found, man, honestly, is that if you at the table, if you go for it, you help to grant the other people at the table freedom. And I'm not saying I do it all the time and I'm this awesome player. For whatever reason, Lenny's game, I'm like, ooh, I have a character I could really get into it. I'm just saying nonsense words that sound aristocratic, arrogant British. I mean, whatever. I'm just pretending. I'm totally diving in. I'm absolutely pretending. I'm thinking of buying a tweed suit just so I can wear it to reinforce the fact.
Yeah, man.
This
Patches
guy.
on the elbow, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. But by doing that, I found that I am encouraging everyone else at the table to do it. And I realized, like, Lenny does this in my games. You did that. Excuse me, Sean, when I ran Trail of Cthulhu, your character you had like this way of speaking. We called it an accent, something you did. But when you dive in and do that, a couple guys like, Jesus, where the fuck is that accent from? Some of the guys gave you shit for it. However, everyone liked it. Everyone applauded the fact that you were doing it.
I'm still here today.
You're still here today.
No therapy needed.
No died. You didn't die.
Yeah.
Nope.
They're not calling me, texting me every day, making fun of me. Like, I'm good. Huh?
But it helps, I think, to give everyone else license to cut loose. Does that make sense?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I think there's absolutely. You know,
when someone else breaks the ice and goes in and is like, I'm the robber. I'm soldier guy. I order you around. Why? Because I'm a lieutenant. I can order people around. Yeah, but he's a colonel. Well, I'm a lieutenant. Can't I do that? No, you don't understand military anything. Oh shit! Sorry, probably shouldn't have said that. Or whatever.
Well, another thing I wanted to bring up with this specifically, and not just okay, I'm going to come up with a lot of different terms because I'm going to embrace the role that I am playing in a
it's an
game.
Idea, a piece. It's a piece of the piece. Yep, piece of the topic.
But it's also to because I think some players just kind of like, I don't know what to do, or how is the role that I'm playing contributing to the situation at hand.
Does this go to your fighter, just punch him in the face concept? Oh, that was loud.
Do you mean nobody's going to punch you in the face?
Well, no, your concept of, I'm a fighter. What should I do?
Yeah.
Punch the monster in the face. Use your sword.
Joe Schwick had a moment like that in our Star Wars Age of Rebellion game. Yeah, they were getting chased by a couple of scout troopers, and Joe was at the top, and he was playing a droid, and he was like, I'm at the top. There's a scout trooper along the side of the vehicle, and he's like, can I jump down? I'm thinking about jumping down with my vibroblade and like jumping down onto the bike. Now, both of them are like screaming, moving down, down the freaking path.
Shoot him with a laser.
No, I told him, I said, yes, man. Yes. jump down and kick that guy in the ass with the frickin' vibroblade. Yes, dude, yay, go.
Do it, go. Yeah.
Like, it's Star Wars, man.
It's crazy.
Do fantastic,
It's
crazy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it, man. And so it's some of those components where it's like, I'm not quite sure. Yep. You're the helms. Like, so when we talk about playing pretend, that's what we're doing in games. We're
making shit up. It's not happening, right? I'll tell you what thing you just did there when Joe said, I'm thinking about, and sometimes you can see this as game master, you can look at your players and somebody has this idea. They got that glint in their eye. They got this, I'm thinking of something crazy. They'll say those words or something along those lines. Like, what do you want to do? Well, I'm thinking of doing like this weird parkour lightsaber flip move. Explain. Show them you're interested in that, and you can get your players doing that. They'll dive into it. Because sometimes, you get a guy like, Joe's a good gamer. I've gamed with Joe Swick many times. And when he's like, I'm thinking of doing this. Sometimes whether we as players realize it or not, when we say that thing out loud, we're looking for validation from the group. Is that a good idea? And as a fellow player, I'm like, that's fucking awesome. That's so Star Wars, dude. Go. Or Brett says, shoot him with a laser. Why would you jump down there? It's dangerous. And somebody else goes, no, that's Star Wars, man. That's the thing. And Brett goes, yeah, you're right. Fucking Star Wars, go. Jump off the bridge. Do the thing. Flip over there. Stab him in the eye. Whatever it is.
Well, he could have done that. I mean, he could have done anything, right?
No, I'm just saying when you hear that from players, my experience tells me that player is looking for validation, looking for acceptance, looking for the group to say, does this sound cool? I'm trying to play pretend here. Is this okay? If you think that back to when you pretend, somebody would be like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if, the cops would do something and then they would, tell the robber, okay, now you try to run away. You've escaped and now I got to chase you down. Okay, yeah, that sounds like fun. Kids have these conversations. I watched my little kids do this when they were much smaller, or even my big kids when they were smaller. Anyway, point is, it's the same type of thing. We have a little writer's table discussion. That's cool. You can help feed that stuff if you're watching what's going on and applaud people for diving in. It doesn't mean you have to speak in character, but you just have a play pretend moment, right? Where you're really into the genre of the thing that's happening. Is that what you're talking about, Sean? Or am I totally taking you in the wrong direction?
No, I think the other thing is to, because again, sometimes I think we look at the character sheet and we're playing maybe kind of ourselves. I don't know, but we're not fully embracing the role that we're playing. So like if you're a doctor, think of what a doctor would do. You're the doctor. You're not every character that you have is kind of the same thing or approaching the same problem with the same hammer. And so when you say, well, when you sit down and you say, you lay out 3 pre-gens and you're playing Call of Cthulhu, okay? Say something like that. Science fiction, whatever. And one's a doctor, one's an antique dealer, one is a private eye. What makes those 3 people different? Just based on those classification titles.
Well, you brought up Star Trek. It's a similar thing. When you're playing the Doctor in Star Trek, you don't know how to be a doctor any more than you know how to be a doctor in modern times, unless you happen to be. Laramie Wall would probably have a better chance. Or somebody out there who is a doctor or another nurse like Laramie or whatever. But the point being is that you don't know how to be a doctor in the 1920s. So if you're playing Star Trek, I need to run a scan. I need to find out what's wrong with him. I think there might be something with his blood or his tissues.
Sure. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Game masters have to help a little bit because there are some that but I don't want to squash ideas that come from that source. Like I'm the doctor, I'm going to run a scan. I am the antiquarian. I know, I'm going to be, snobby and I'm going to know about, I'm going to be a social elitist kind of approach as a character because I am an antiquarian, and that's what I'm going to embrace. And I know all the ins and outs of antiques and dealings. And, I go to Sotheby's and, peruse the items that are up for auction,
And if you as the game master know more about Star Trek medical lore than the guy playing the doctor, or she's playing the doctor, she's like, well, I want to run some tests and check, let's see, internal organs, bleeding, tissue damage, blood work. They're throwing out that type of thing. And what you say as game master, being much, you happen to be wiser in the ways of, you say, well, what you're going to do is use the tricorder, the B quarter, the C quarter, whatever the hell it is. You name the thing. You're passing lore to that player who's trying to play pretend, and they're grasping for a term they can use. Pass the lore to them, and then they have that vocabulary now to use.
Right.
Oh, this thing that said surgical data recorder on my character sheet, that's what I use to do this. Well, I'm going to use my surgical data recorder to go through and do a similar scan like I did the last time and try to figure out X, Y, and Z. Passing that vocabulary across the table helps that person who really wants to play pretend. And the other thing is, if you're trying to play pretend and you're trying to do it really well, and you're like, look, I don't know the term, what would I do to get this type of result? You could ask that open question. And if there's somebody at the table who's really good or knows something better than you about the 1920s Cthulhu or Star Trek or wherever it happens to be. I don't know enough about Star Wars, quite frankly. I'm not savvy. I know enough to get by, but not super savvy. I remember playing Star Wars with Sean saying, do they have like a tricorder readings? How can you do a scan of something? You know,
yeah,
how does
right.
that
I was
work?
trying to scan ships and shit. Like, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know. Can I do that? Can I try that? You know? So doing that, though, lets Sean know that I'm trying to play in my role. I'm trying to pretend here. I just am lacking vocabulary.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, and that's a good point. Like some games like Cyberpunk Red, I find it often in the cyberpunk genre, like Shadowrun, Cyberpunk Red, you know, some others that will list a glossary of terms that they want, you know, that you can use, vocabulary that you can incorporate.
Vampire was big on that, dude. Oh, yeah. If you were the sheriff of a city, the prince, antediluvian, Methuselah, what is that? What does that mean? Ranking wise, and it had stats and reasons, and if you were a childer, if you were what generation are you? What does that mean? Tons of terms, and for those of us who got into it at the time, we knew all that crap. We'd have these conversations, but the new player, we had to help them with the vocabulary, give them those tools, hand it across the screen so that they could grab it and run with it. That was important.
Yeah, and if you've heard terms in movies that incorporate or embrace a certain quote unquote character, you know, when you talk about the Italian Job and you look at the guy, God, I can't remember the Seth Green's character, what his name was, that was the hacker, and he talks about doing certain things within the movie, use that vernacular. You know, Star Wars, same thing. You know, Jason Weeb, and, you know, he mentioned, you know, it's probably got a bad motivator. Well, yeah. It's used right in episode 4. Get that one out of here. It's probably, you know, this was, hey, put motivator on the, hey, Uncle Owen, this one's got a bad motivator.
Yeah, like motivator, what? Like it's not motivated to work? What does that mean? Not moving? What's
got to go? Hydro spanners, motivators. Yeah, got to get the
hydro spanners. That's a water-based spanner wrench. What is that? Yeah, makes no sense. Yeah, give me electro stim.
Yeah, got to go Tashi Station and get some power converters. Ah, so bring on. I mean, we've all heard it. We've all seen it. If we're playing Star Trek, we've probably seen an episode 1 or 2. And Brett's even talking about tricorder, bicorders, you know, quadcorders.
If I could throw it out there. I think there is the other thing that happens. One of the things that I think stops people from playing pretend in that level that you're talking about is the desire to be original. Sometimes we don't want to borrow. We don't want to copy. Right? I know I used to have this problem when running games and stuff. I'm like, oh, I want to be as original as I can. Well, I think that's okay. But in certain cases, we have chatted about this over the years, but I think, you know, referencing something that, like, I want to use like a tricorder. I don't know what the Star Wars equivalent is, but is there a tricorder type thing here? Like from Star Trek? The game master can tell you yes or no. If it's a thing that people are aware of. And there's nothing wrong with you saying, I'm giving her all she's got, Captain. Because you made a roll and blah, blah, blah. Quoting those pieces, taking those things directly from Firefly or whatever your thing is totally fine. And I think there's sometimes when we say stuff, we don't want to inappropriately quote it or over quote it or be seen as unoriginal in some way. Like we'll be made fun of because we're copying something. But there's a lot of power in that. And we've talked about that for quite a while. And I think that's something we should tap into because that helps us playing pretend because it has connotations. It has all the meanings and emotions that go with that statement. It's got a bad motivator in that sing-songy, whiny Luke Skywalker voice. There's power in that. It's got a bad motivator, Uncle Owen.
Kind of be in the military where you get bring up all kinds of goofy stuff like chrome-plated muffler bearings and liquid squelch and.
I worked factory. I was told a couple times, "Hey, go downstairs and get me a bucket of steam." I was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah,
I know what that is.
Box of grid squares.
Yeah, first time you get a car and that crazy uncle goes, "Hey, your blinker fluid's low. Fuck off." Blinker fluid. "Hey, your tires are rotating." "Oh my God, really?" Yeah, that one. Yeah, all that shit.
But some of that originality, you can't be original because it's kind of like, speaking the way anybody would. Like right now, Brett and I talking are going to reference things that aren't original, but we have to because
exactly
we got to talk to each other and communicate, right?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the cool pieces that I remember being kids, vaguely, God knows when that was, as kids, watching my kids growing up and quoting stuff that they saw in movies or that they saw in TV shows that was fun for them, right? They would watch Finding Nemo and they would say something because it was funny or cute or they thought it applied in the situation. And it's a way to communicate. And again, I think from a playing pretend perspective, it's very effective to pull that in. It can be very helpful. Kind of gets you in the zone, right? If you're playing a Star Wars game and it's been a while since you've seen a Star Wars movie, and break out one of them, dude. A lot of the good quotes and quips are in there. A lot of the good pieces and parts, and almost every one of them, it's got Star Wars type action, Star Wars type dialogue, Star Wars type look and feel. Glom onto a piece of it.
Yeah, you're in Star Wars. You're not looking for a car. You're looking for a speeder.
The hover thing.
Hovermobile.
I need a hover. I need a hovermobile.
Right.
Hovermobile, Brett. You know what I mean. One of those things that floats. It's funny, but I'm in there. I'm not saying, give me a car.
Not a motorcycle. I need a transport.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I need a speeder bike. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I need.
So yeah, I just figured and I wanted to gear this towards more players because we don't do a lot of show up for players and we all play, like even game masters play. But at the same time, I think we get caught up in here's my character. I'm kind of two-dimensional and I'm not really thinking of who or what I'm playing.
Or we want so many dimensions, right? I want a 5-page backstory, or we want too much, too little. There, what's the sweet spot for you? We've talked about this as game masters, again, referencing like, hey, you're in a dungeon in this weird ass stairway. That stairway in the Mines of Moria in the Lord of the Rings movie when they're going down? So no Balrogs chasing you, but you know what that looks like? No banisters or anything. You're just, yeah, okay, it looks like that. Done. Everyone has the picture in their mind because it just so happens everyone at the table has seen that movie. Or they can at least help describe it good enough, move on. Those reference points are great. Game masters, we use them all the time. But as players, I think we need to start referencing that stuff too because it helps us, I can underscore who my character is based on some of the things I quote and quip and some of the descriptions I use, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you want to be as original as possible in the Star Trek as a doctor, as a player, you could decide to be the doctor who orders everybody else around. Yes, we need to run some tests on this man. I want to find out if there's anything anomalous with him. Oh yes, boy, looks like she's in rough shape. Put her in the stasis chamber and report back to me in 15 hours as to or if anything's changed. If anybody's met a surgeon, they tend to like to give orders. So anyway, just some ideas there. Sean, anything else you want on this one? I don't mean to drag it out or.
No, not at all. I think everybody kind of gets the gist.
All right.
So
let's pretend we're moving on.
going to the die roll. Die roll, 2 to 4 miscellaneous points of gaming and geekery you want to share with you. Got a couple this week I just picked off. First one, Jared Rasher's doing an AP podcast. I don't know if we put this out there, but it's specifically around the streets of Avalon.
Yeah, I think we may have brought it up before, but he's been releasing a couple more recently, so it's definitely worth throwing out there. Jared's awesome. He's got Eileen, and he's just got a great team gaming with him. So it's a really good crew. And based on what he's been doing and some of the feedback I've been getting from a couple of players, like, hey, what if Eileen gave me a great idea. I'm like, I should do that. There's some good stuff.
And then the second one was just a kind of a blog article that has to do with crawling without hexes. So some of the folks that might like what a hex crawl provides, but maybe wants a different approach to it, Hill Canton's Crawling Without Hexes was an interesting article that's out there. Point crawl.
I should throw this one out there. I don't know if you knew this, Sean, but WizKids are producing a Hand and Eye of Vecna.
We put that out when it was
Did we?
brought up, I think.
I couldn't remember.
Maybe we didn't. I know I mentioned it coming out in like the beginning of a show.
Yeah, I pre-ordered one.
Brett's getting the Eye and Hand of Vecna.
Yeah. It will. It might be a needed prop for a thing.
I don't think we did it as a die roll. I think we did it like, hey, did you hear about Wizards' new thing coming out, the Eye and Hand of Vecna? Yeah. It's not. It's somebody's asking how much it is. Lareth is.
I don't remember.
Brett does. He doesn't want to divulge it because it's not cheap. And he probably has a spouse not standing too far.
Everything's fine.
At least he has headphones on and she can't hear what I'm saying. So, anyways, yeah, it's not. It's like the big. I mean, it ranks up there with the big Mind Flayer mounted head, and the dragon mounted head, and the beholder.
Two dragons. They have beholder. Yeah.
I mean, those things were like a couple, $200-$300, I think. So, they said show it on the stream when you get it.
Oh, absolutely. There's a it's not due out for a couple months yet, but anyway, there's something cool. I was thinking about this when I brought it up here. Is the world of Dungeons and Dragons? People have talked about, like, D&D is its own thing. It has its own mythos, if you will, right? Vecna, Kas, Tiamat, so on and so forth. It's interesting when you're making a homebrew world, when you have callbacks. And I've done this in Avalon, when I have callbacks to other adventures and other adventurers, things they've done, relics they may or may not have found, or something that was alluded to, like the Lady Madonna, which is this mysterious ship that apparently continues to sink and keep showing up. It becomes a piece, and it really helps to build the homebrewed world, excuse me. I think it's pretty cool. It's fun to do anyway.
Yeah.
All right, man.
We're good. What are we talking about next week, Brett?
I don't know. I'll probably text you and go, what the hell, man? What are we doing? No, we have a couple good ideas that you had thrown to me. I like the one, picked one up earlier here from Craig. Kind of like the idea, what he talked about from like post-lockdown world, so on and so forth. And we might actually, one of the things that I've been thinking about, I should say Sean brought it up, was cyberpunk. Kind of as a genre, what does it mean and so forth, especially with Cyberpunk Red being out. So might have to do a little bit of book reading, Sean, so I could talk about that one intelligently. So we'll see how far I get in my copy of Cyberpunk Red, and if I get far enough in that I think I can speak intelligently to it, we might cover that one.
Sweet.
So got some good stuff.
We'll be talking about something next week.
Probably gaming related. At least most of the show will be gaming related, I promise. Probably. Odds are most likely probably.
We're going to pretend we're podcasters. Take on the role of podcasters.
Exactly. We'll just pretend. That's what we've been doing for 6 years. I just fucking winging it. I got no idea what I'm doing.
So thanks everybody for joining us live. You can catch us here on twitch.tv /gaming_and_ BS at 8 p.m. Central Time Monday nights, where we record the audio version in front of a live studio audience. And then you can catch our audio show on your podcatcher of choice. And if you see this on YouTube or YouTube, give us a like or subscribe. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us all these years, including 2020. We know that habits have changed, and a lot of people weren't listening to us probably every week, like on their ride to work and their ride back from work and things of that nature. That's okay. We're still here. We're still going. We're hoping 2021 is going to be more awesome than ever before. And keep on gaming. Otherwise, I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night and good gaming all.
This episode of Gaming in BS produced with help from the following BSers: Jared Rasher, Ray Otis, Old School DM, Jason Hobbs, Andy Hall, Roger Braslett, Brett Pazinski, Chris Steele, Larry Hout, Eric Frankhouse, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Stefan Dragonspawn, Mark Tasaka, Pure Mongrel, CW Mellencamp, Dan LaValle, Craig Huber, Ron Bishop, Old Scoozer Roleplaying, Jim Fitzpatrick, Mark Richmond, Thomas Hook, Sky, Craig, Howard Bishop, Jeff Seifert, Angus, Eric Salzweedle, George Sedgwick, Robert Nemeth, Brian Kurtz, Laramie Wall, Perry Basor, Eric Avia, Andy Olson, John Kayward, Corey Gonzalez, Niall Diamond, Jeff Goad, Brian Rumble, David F. Baylog, Harrigan, Melissa Mashinsky, Henry Newcomb, Eric Tavola, Hoos Carl, Ghost GM, Mike Hess Jr., Rory Weston, Jim Ingram, Daniel Garrett, Jason Weeb, Dollar Adventure Frameworks, Phil McClory, Jay Plata, The Duke and Purple, Isaiah Aries, Christian, Vanta Blacklord, Larry Hollis, Quigley Malcolm, AWOL Trooper, Craig Shipman, Todd Sharp, Orcus Dorcas, Chris Shorb, Michael O'Holland, Christopher Lang, Chad Glayman, Josh Wallace, Adam Grote-John, Ed Nyes, Corey Welch, Mirko Froelich, Rich Wishan, Joe Swick, Curtis Takahashi, and Aaron Ralia. Hey, it's 2021. Do you have a few games on your short list that you'd like to tackle this year? Why don't you join our forums at forums.gamingnbs.com and check out what everybody's looking to play in 2021. Maybe there's a one-shot that's going to cover the game you're looking for. Or if you're looking to run a one-shot, there may be others that we're willing to play. Hope to see you over there. Thanks, BSers!
This has been a Litterbox Studio production.